Hey guys, welcome to episode 5. This is just Misha here today because I want to catch you guys up on kind of what's happened in the past month or so. I feel like it's been about a month since the last episode. I don't know. Anyway, so a lot has happened and I should just catch you guys up on that. So the first thing is that I was able to get a bunch of commas. This is all from one technique. And that technique was being AFK for like 3 weeks while all my resources in my bank became very valuable. I'll put up a screenshot here if I can find it. But essentially, when I was leveling up Miner and Lumberjack and Alchemist, that was before there was this huge influx of what seemed to be bots, and just accounts that are like, their sole purpose is to collect like just say iron or silicate or dolomite. Like you'll see accounts with the name like Ashenstone Miner, and they'll just stand at an Ashenstone vein for the entire week. So I assume they're bots, but hey, if that's how you want to live your life, then that's how you want to live your life, right? I don't want to blame them. And anyway, because of that, they drove the price up of Ashenstone and silicate and dolomite and all these high-level miner resources by a factor of 20 or 30 times even. And because my bank had a ton of them, thousands and thousands from when I was leveling up Miner, I ended up getting, I think, like a ridiculous like amount of estimated value, and right before the craft day, those things were selling like wildfire, so that's what I ended up doing. On top of that, I also got myself an Agi set as well as a strength set. The Agi is meant more for PVM, and the strength is meant more for PvP, but I'll cover them both here, and then you'll see more of the PvP set in the colo clips that I show you in a sec. The Agi set actually has more Agi than this because right now I'm using my strength mount, but regardless, here are the general mages and stats. Everything's maged for Vit, so you can see the Solomon about 100 over. Not super happy with this mage. It's kind of cheeky, but you know, this isn't an Opti set. This is just here, so I can kind of like get to the next level bracket. So here are the mages. Everything is relatively solid in terms of the damages and everything, and I get about 80 or 90 Vit over on everything. I think the total amount is 747 Vit over on the set, and then also I've upgraded from the weaker trophies that I used to have to these more powerful 150 trophies. Yeah, the total Agi in that set, by the way, if I just switch back real quick, it's like, I don't want to do the math, but the other pet is 50 power and 70 Agi, so 676 plus 154, that is 800 something plus or minus 120. So 900-ish Agi, I think is safe to say, and it doesn't really have any good resistances. This set is 709 strength, 135 power, so 835 strength, not that much, but the resistances are pretty strong at 30, 37, 33, and 40 with 9% neutral. So not greatest on neutral, but you rarely see that. I think only really like Fekkas and Masqueraders will have those being like prominent sources of their damage, but I'm not too sure. I guess Sakers can kind of hit in neutral pretty strong with Retribution, but I mean, you know, winning against the Saker is pretty much impossible, so I'm only kind of joking. Anyway, so here are the mages on this set. This one I obviously got 13% and sacrifice neutral resistance for it. I could probably get like, I think I could get 4 or 5 or maybe even 6% neutral with 13s, but you know, a lot of this is, as I said, not Opti, just I only hold on to it for the sake of holding on to it. Minotaur's Cape, same deal. I don't know how good the actual mage is. This one, I don't know how hard it is. And this one, I don't know. I don't mage these things often, so I just slapped on a raw Vit, and I was like, all right, looks pretty enough. This thing was actually a pain to mage, and it costed me like over 100,000 just in like runes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when when the alternative is like 30,000, it's like tedious. Same boots as last time. This guy, pretty happy with this actually. No AP drop, but it has perfect strength and power, so happy with that. Ring, similar deal. All I wanted was vitality on this set, so this actually was really nice. I was only expecting to get like 50 or 60. I ended up getting 130 Vit over mage. And so very happy about that. Boosted up the health a decent amount. Dragon Daggers, same as the last thing, and that. And the only stuff I replaced were these 2 trophies. So I got an extra 160 strength, although the Major Maniac could be replaced for really, say, AP resistance, MP resistance, maybe a Survivor, just anything to give any extra stat that you may need. Survivor would bring me up to 3998, I think, in terms of health. But I don't think it's worth it because it's with the amount of lifesteal I have, I don't think having an extra 100 Vit is going to make too much of a difference. So I want a bit more damage. Especially when you go tank, you kind of sacrifice a lot of damage in the first place. So yeah, that's kind of what has happened in terms of my sets and my equipment since last time. If you're wondering what this is just the wisdom stuff I used to level. And yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and play you guys some colo clips, but as I'm recording this after the fact, I'm not certain if I'm going to keep in the audio. I wanted to do commentary over it, but this is a tank character. The fights were like 26 minutes long. So they weren't that long, but there were some fights that were like 10, maybe 11, 12 minutes. And there are just periods where I just don't know what to say because it's like the strategy is just hit them and heal. So yeah, I'll try and keep them entertaining and not as sped up. So hopefully you can still watch those. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. And here are some colo clips. All right, so I was going to keep the original audio in, but there were so many weird pauses of like 20 seconds and turns that weren't well described. So instead I'll just do a brief like overview commentary. As you can tell, this isn't real time. The fight's just going on in the background, and I'll just describe a few things that I think are important to note. So yeah, for this first fight against the Echoflip, I was up against a very, very tanky person. They had like 35+% resistance or something like that to everything. And they were pure agi, which if you know about Echoflips, pure agi generally means that they're going to be playing with erosion, as that is where their erosion comes from. And so this guy was going to go for the long haul. They clearly knew that they had to be tanky and had to sustain a lot. Thankfully, I had a 20 level advantage in my favor. So pretty easy fight. I think my set was just stronger. I think my class was just stronger at this point. I think if I was back at 130, I probably would have lost this pretty hard. But because I was 153 and they were 134, there wasn't much to be done. I just kind of out DPS'd them in every capacity. But I do think that if I made a few mistakes, I could have lost this. I did get lucky with killing their healing kitten with just one ability, but I don't think that was the difference in the fight. I think it is just important that they should have played a bit more from range if possible, as Oogis are really, really weak at range, especially strength Oogis. And yeah, because I had so much tankiness, I think it made it a lot easier. If I was agi, I don't believe I would have won this fight. So this next fight is against a Forge Lance, and I'll be honest, I still don't know what they do. I have fought a few of them in my days, but most of them just go agi and pushback, and this guy was just agi, no pushback, so he didn't end up actually doing that much damage. I think he misplayed a bit, but ultimately this fight wasn't that hard. I think it was just a matter of me being a bit too tanky for the guy, and because he probably preferred to play like mid-range to melee, that's just really where Oogies do much better. And if he was like a Craw or something playing from full range, then I think it might be a pretty tough fight. But because this guy was so melee and because he didn't really have a lot of damage, it just ended up being a pretty easy fight. This fight against the Strength IOP wasn't too tough either. I wish I had closer fights that had more intense commentary, but as I said, my speculation is just that with this particular build, with this particular level, it's going to be pretty one-sided fights, and the hardest part about this fight was really just not being hit by IOP's Wrath, but because the guy was 11-5, it was pretty easy to avoid. I just had to walk away from him. The last turn, I think I could have died, but his vitality ran out, which I actually didn't expect it to. I just made a mistake, and thankfully I got lucky, but I'm pretty sure he had a charged Wrath for that turn, and I only had 2,700 HP, which, assuming his first Wrath was any, signifier, hitting about 1,000, I think that a charged Wrath could have probably hit 2,500 or more, and because of that, I might have even died on that turn with Precipitation. But thankfully, he died to Vitality. Other than that, this fight was a bit of a cat and mouse type deal where whenever one of us were strong, the other one would run away, and then whenever one of us were on our cooldowns, the other guy would come in. So it came down to just who had more sustain, who had more HP, and that was me. So I ended up winning this fight as well. The final fight I want to show is this 1v1 loss to a AP reduction Feka. Although I lost pretty decisively, I do think that I got at least somewhat close, and I think that's a testament to just how strong this set is. The guy played neutral damage as well, which, as I showed in the beginning, my set is the weakest at. But, you know, through having not only very little resistance to his element, as well as only having as low as 3 AP on a few turns, I still think that I fared pretty well, and so the final score ended up being him having 655 health and me obviously dying. But I'm pretty happy with that outcome. I don't know if they were trying their hardest. I'm certain that they could have done better if they were really concerned about my abilities, but I seem to have not posed much of a threat with only 3 AP. But yeah, I was still happy with this fight in a weird, twisted way, even though the original commentary does suggest that I was quite salty about having no AP. But that's just part of PvP. So thanks for watching. This is the final clip I'm going to show. And yeah, catch you guys in episode 6.